Hey, this is Brian again, and I'd like to ask you to do a favor. We can't do this work without people like you, so if you can, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about Bring Back the Porch.
The police are out there and they're happy to see people out using the trails and the roadways, and we want to just keep them safe. We don't want to see anybody out there get hurt. And if you have any questions, please give us a call, or if you see a police officer out in the community, feel free to ask them. If they don't know the answer, we will find it out for you.
This episode of Bring Back the Porch brought to you by Bernie Leahy, River Street Realty. Let's get you home. You know it's spring when you hear a lawnmower, when you hear a robin, and you hear a motorcycle. And here to help sort out the new rules regarding motorcycles and all the different classifications from the Medicine Hat City Police Service, Curtis Ladouceur. Thanks for the visit. Come on down and let's talk.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, we were talking before we went on the air here about all the different things that are happening out there with e-bikes. And there's a variety of different kinds out there. Licensing, insurance. Can you kind of maybe help clear up all our confusion, or at least my confusion?
Yeah, there is a lot of confusion out there, and partially because things are changing so fast. Like we have all these new e-bikes and joining in on the different categories that have kind of historically been gas powered or pedal powered, and that's it. And now we've got this new one in there, so it's a little bit different. But if we break it down into those categories that we've always had, so we have motorcycles. Motorcycles are anything that is powered by 50 cc's or higher than 50 cc's is a motorcycle. Anything under 50 cc's is a moped or a gas-powered scooter. And a lot of those scooters and those manufacturers and Honda and Yamaha, those are 49 cc's. And then on the other side, you've got the e-bikes, and I'll get to that very quickly. But with the motorcycles, they need to be registered, insured, have all the safety equipment, horns and signal lights, and that comes with registration. And you have to wear a helmet on it, and you need to be licensed for it.
And how old?
So on a motorcycle, you have to be 16 or older and hold a motorcycle license, or you can be learning, but you have to be within, I think it's 200 meters of somebody holding a motorcycle license.
Okay.
For we'll call them mopeds. Mopeds is 49 under 50 cc's, so 49 cc's. That can be operated with a learner's license, so a Class 7 license. So the minimum age is 14, so the 14 can get their learner's license. That vehicle needs to be insured, registered, and you need to wear a helmet on that as well, because it also has a horn, signal lights, and all the safety.
Yeah, to let you know that I'm coming.
That's right. That's right.
Warn you.
And of course, it's springtime, and Medicine Hat has a very, very healthy community of kids on mopeds that are going to and from school and things like that. And there's different rules with that as well, is that if they're under 16 and they're riding a moped, you can't take passengers. And so there's a number of different rules that they have to stay within as well. But we're seeing lots of them. And from what I've seen, Medicine Hat in this town is excellent for keeping their eyes open for those kids on their bikes.
Yeah, you have to, because they are so small and they can dart in and out of traffic so quickly. It's like a mosquito.
Yeah, and it's great that they're learning, and it's great that they're out there and on our roadways as well. But there's a certain amount of understanding that when they get their learner's license and they get into a vehicle, they have to have somebody with their full license to be supervising them. And there's lots of questions and conversation that happens in that vehicle as that new driver is learning to navigate the roads and the rules of the roads and do it safely and look out for other motorists. But when they're on their scooters or they're on their mopeds, they're all alone. Yeah. And sometimes that can be, a lot of decisions are with them. And so, if you drive a moped, you ride a moped, or your son or daughter's getting into mopeds, I urge you to, look at the motorcycle licensing book online, let them have a read of that, talk about it with them, get them thinking about, I'm small on the roadway. Sometimes I'm faster, sometimes I sneak up. I always tell everybody that I run into, pretend you're invisible on a moped, because you might be. And no matter how much the other motorists are keeping their eyes out for them, sometimes you're hard to see.
One of the things that whenever I see a nice warm summer evening and you see someone on a moped, I always shudder because I see flip-flops, shorts, a T-shirt, and nothing else. And if that moped hits a gravel spot or whatever and they go down on the pavement, my skin I can feel it coming off. And I don't think there's any regulations about the clothing that you must wear, but you have to keep safety in mind too.
Absolutely. I have, personally speaking, I've ridden motorcycles since I was 16. I have a son right now who is 14 and has a moped for the first time, and we're out riding. When you see those big motorcycles, those big cruisers, or those race bikes and all that stuff, those guys and gals usually have gloves on, boots, helmet, a leather jacket or a Cordura jacket, some sort of riding gear that they're in. When they're in town, they still wear that riding gear. Yeah. And so 50 kilometers an hour and down to 30 kilometers an hour in some areas, but they're still wearing that riding gear. So coming off of a motorcycle, a big cruiser or anything like that, at 50 kilometers an hour is the same feeling as coming off of a scooter at 50 kilometers an hour. And a lot of our injuries that come from scooters and mopeds in town are the rider striking the pavement. Yep. And how we get around that is flip-flops, shorts, small T-shirts. You have to think about that safety. You have to think about, if I were to get down onto the road right now and slide, what would I want to be wearing? And I know it's summer, and I know you're going to school.
And I want to be cool.
And I get it. But you don't get onto a bike without gloves on. Now, it's not the law.
No.
But when you go down, the first thing you put out is your hands.
Yep.
And so I like to see anybody riding on two wheels, the motorized, is going to be wearing gloves, wearing some sort of suitable shoes that aren't just going to pop off, or that they can, running shoes, something like that. If you want to wear flip-flops to school, absolutely. Throw them in the backpack. Yep. Wear the shoes. Put on a jacket, a hoodie, anything really, anything, because it takes just a couple of seconds to wear through whatever you're wearing. But if it takes a couple of seconds like that, we're mostly made up of water.
Yep.
We're not as tough as some of those clothing and those fabrics. So,
yep.
So please wear something. Yeah. If nothing else, proper shoes and gloves. That's what's going to be touching down first.
And the helmet, is there any restriction or difference between the helmet that a moped rider would need and someone who's on a motorcycle?
No, those helmets need to be certified helmets, and they are the same helmets. So a motorcycle helmet, a scooter, moped helmet, those are the same helmets. They're different from bicycle helmets or BMX helmets, things like that. Okay.
Now, we move into the new world of e-bikes, and there are some that are you pedal to and you have a motor to assist you, and then there's others that just go. I think they can go 80 kilometers an hour.
Yeah,
that's fast.
That's very fast. So just to keep, just to keep the classifications and the categories separate. So let's leave motorcycles and mopeds and scooters over there. Those are registered, insured, and you need licensing to ride them. So now we'll get into, we're seeing, so from bicycles, regular bicycles that we've always had, we're seeing these electric bicycles. So they're powered. There's assisted ones. So when you start pedaling, then it assists you going, and there's no throttle. There's nothing like that. Those are the assisted bikes. But when we have electric bicycles, for them to be legal to be riding on shared pathways and is 500 watts or less. So that's the power that they have. Also, the restriction on it is 32 kilometers an hour is their maximum speed.
Okay.
So different municipalities around the province are putting additional restrictions on them, with Edmonton and Calgary about where you can ride them, how fast you can ride them. I know on some of their multi-use pathways, they're restricting the speed to 20 kilometers an hour, even though that vehicle can go 32. But the reason why they're doing that isn't to stop fun, isn't to put a damper on anybody's summer. It's because you're quiet, you're silent, and on those multi-use pathways, you're going all the way from pedestrians out with young kids or animals on leashes, which is very unpredictable. Oh, yeah. And when you're moving that fast, they're not really designed to take vehicles moving that fast. And now that we're coming into these new categories, we're getting more and more different vehicles coming out there, which is great. We just need to be reasonable and safe with them.
Medicine is blessed with a wonderful trail system, and they are available to pedestrians and to people on bicycles. But as you say, they can be very quiet, and you're walking along on the path, enjoying this nice summer evening. All of a sudden, where'd he come from?
Yeah,
it can be get your heart rate up. So it's incumbent, I would think, upon the person on that e-bike to remember that and to slow down or have do they have to have any kind of a bell or a warning?
Well, they need to have a bell, they need to have a headlight, they need to have tail light reflectors. But there's new legislation coming out all the time. They're looking into different things. Mm-hmm. It hasn't changed in quite some time, so I'm expecting some new legislation to come out. So as long as we're respectful and safe, then hopefully we can continue to share those multi-use paths. I don't want to see them come off of the paths, no. But we need to be safe, and we need to be smart with that. So use that bell. Understand that if there's any rub points coming onto who's using our multi-use paths, pedestrians have been there for a long time. Mm-hmm. Bicycles, regular push bikes have been on there a long time. So if we want to continue to use them, we need to be responsible about it.
That's
too.
the key word, responsibility.
Yeah.
Now, is there any insurance requirements for someone on an e-bike?
On an e-bike, there is not. You have to be 12 years old to ride one, and you need to have a helmet.
Okay.
So that is the e-bikes. Different places are restricting whether it has a throttle or whether when you are done pedaling, then the electric motor stops. That's what they have in parks right now, federal parks. So Banff are restricting that on their trails. So if it has a throttle or if it doesn't have pedals, then it can't go on their trails. Okay. That kind of brings me to another form of e-bike that we're seeing out there are the e-bikes that don't have pedals.
Yeah. So
it looks like a motorcycle or a dirt bike, but it's electrically powered. Those are capable of doing, 70, 80 kilometers an hour, even more. So a power bike or an e-bike, but they're called in legislation power bikes. Power bikes need to have operational pedals on there that can propel that bike, even not with power assisted. So these we'll call them electric dirt bikes for right now. They don't have any pedals. There's only a couple of manufacturers out there manufacturing them. I've seen a couple of them on the roadways, sharing the roadways. Those are not an e-bike. They're not classified as an e-bike. They can go faster than 32 kilometers an hour. They're powered by more than 500 kilowatts. They are considered an off-highway vehicle. Oh. So now we've got we've got motorcycles, we have mopeds and scooters, we have e-bikes, and now we can get into off-highway vehicles. So any of the dirt bikes, quads, side-by-sides, of course they come to mind as those are off-highway vehicles, absolutely. But any of the miniature vehicles out there or the mini bikes, it looks like a street bike, but they're really small. You can put it on your table here. Those electric scooters, the electric scooters you stand on, like our bird scooters in town. Bird scooters are the only allowed electric scooter in town right now, under legislation, they need to be used on private property, or and then these electric dirt bikes. These are all considered off-highway vehicles. They can be operated, no problem, on private property. They can't be on our pathways or on our roadways. And you can use them on some provincial crown lands. But like I said, with Banff, that's federal parks out there. They're not allowing them there. On the provincial parks, crown land, they are allowing those vehicles. So that would be your McLean Creek and Wypress, things like that, where people go out with their quads and their quads or dirt bikes. But that being said, when you take an off-highway vehicle off of private property and onto crown land, so that's the Suron. I think Suron is one of the companies that make these electric dirt bikes. It's one of the biggest ones anyway. There's a couple of them. They need to be insured and licensed to be on crown land, just like a quad or a dirt bike. So I don't want people confusing, is it licensed and insured as an off-highway vehicle to be used, out 4x4ing and dirt biking and things like that, does not insure and register you for roadways in Alberta.
Okay. What about headwear? Is there an age limit as to who has to wear a helmet?
I'd like to see everybody wearing a helmet.
For safety, yes. Got to protect the brain.
That's right. Doesn't take much coming off of your bike to hit the ground and do some serious damage. But the kind of the number out there is 12 years old. Under 12 years old, you have to have a helmet. Over 12 years old, you should not have to be told to wear a helmet. How's that? Could I say that?
No, yeah, you should be smart enough to know to protect your head. Yeah. The other question that comes up a lot in our household, actually my wife asked it the other night, can a bicyclist be in the middle of the road when they're riding down the road? Let's pause for a moment so we can share some exciting news. We're proud to announce that our work here at Bring Back the Porch is getting noticed. From October to the end of January, our videos and reels viewed more than 1 million times. Some of those viewers could be your customers, so sponsoring Bring Back the Porch is a great way to get your message in front of them too. If you'd like to support our work here at Bring Back the Porch, we ask you to go to our website at bringbacktheporch.com and follow the links. Thank you for your support.
Of course, we want to share the roadways, and we don't want to put a damper on any cycling in the city. And we've got, there's talk about bike lanes and all of these things out there, which is really exciting. So yes, they can share the road. No, they cannot be in the middle of the road. They need to keep up with the flow of traffic. So that's motorcycles and scooters. And I'll kind of go down a bit of a rabbit hole. You have to kind of keep me tied in here. That's right. Is that scooters can't keep up. Their maximum speed limit is 70 kilometers an hour. So of course they're not allowed on any roadway that's like the highway or anything like that, because they can't keep up with the flow of traffic. Now bicycles are something a bit different in the city. On the highway, you see them on Highway 1, and hats off to those guys and gals, because they go a long way, but they don't ride in the middle of the road out there because it's not safe. It's not safe for motorists or themselves. They're off to the right. Same thing here in town. So if you're riding a bicycle on our roadways, stay to the right. Unless it's a one-way, then you can go right or left. But stay to the right-hand side, out of the way. Keep an eye out there. You consider yourself invisible as well, unless you're making a left-hand turn. Also, that being said, if you are a bicycle on our roadway, you are considered by the TSA, or the Traffic Safety Act, a motor vehicle. So if you're considered a motor vehicle, you have to adhere to all the rules of the road. That is red lights. And I've seen it before. Cars will stop for a red light, and a pedaling bike will just blast right through. I have seen them, and I have stopped them myself. And that appropriate ticket for that would be a red light ticket. Same thing as if you were in your car and you went through a red light. It's the same thing if you're on a bicycle on the roadway and you go through a red light. That's a red light ticket.
But if I'm on a bike, I'm not going to lose demerit points on my motor vehicle license.
Well, it's with your license, so that would be with motor vehicles.
Okay.
So that is a moving violation, and you are a motor vehicle.
All right. Something to keep in mind.
Something to keep in mind, and it surprises everybody out there. But if we want to share the road, you're considered a motor vehicle.
Another one, too, is how bicyclists or anyone on a cycle are treated at crosswalks.
Right. So crosswalks are, it's a good point. Good question. Crosswalks are there to get pedestrians from one side of the road to the other safely. So motor vehicles, and I won't say cars or trucks or anything, let's just call them motor vehicles now. Motor vehicles have to stop and allow and yield to the right of way. If there's a pedal bike using a multi-use trail that comes up to a crosswalk, if you're on your bicycle, you're still considered a motor vehicle. You need to dismount your bicycle and walk it across the road. And I know I sound like everybody's mom and dad growing up where you have to get off your bike and walk it across the road. And if I see that you don't, you can't ride it to school anymore or something like that.
Thanks, Dad.
Yep. But what it is it's not only a safety issue, but you're telling the motor vehicles or the users of the road that you want to cross that road. Another thing is that if you ride across a crosswalk, so the average person is, 2 to 3 kilometers an hour walking speed. Our roads are designed when you come around a corner and there's a crosswalk, there's enough time and distance at that speed limit that the roadway is at to stop safely if they see a pedestrian. If you're on a bicycle, you're doing, between 20 and 25 kilometers an hour, and the roadways aren't designed for that. So when you come across that crosswalk, it's not that you're not given the right of way, which they don't, not that they don't have to give you the right of way, but you don't have the right of way there if you're riding across a crosswalk.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, the worst case scenario isn't that they screech to a halt and get mad at you. The worst case scenario is that they can't screech to a halt and they strike you because you're in that crosswalk and you're moving faster than their decisions of the roadways are designed to have you come out on. Okay. If that makes sense. That's a long-winded answer. That's a long answer for a short question.
The easiest way is you come to a crosswalk if you're on a path, dismount, walk it across, continue on.
We have seen a number of collisions where we have somebody on a bicycle coming across a crosswalk and a car, whether it's speeding or not, trying to get to a stop, and it ends up in a collision. And whenever a vehicle hits a bicycle or a pedestrian or a scooter or a moped or a motorcycle, we're expecting injuries, and we don't want to see that this summer.
Safety equipment on any type of a cycle. I don't know if we talked about this, but it just popped in my mind that a mirror on a cycle is a good piece of safety equipment because you know then who's behind you.
Absolutely.
But I don't know if it's required.
It's not required, but it's a very important piece of safety equipment, especially if you're going to be sharing the roadways. And now, because bicyclists are kind of the fastest thing, everything happening is always in front of you. But now we have these e-bikes on the trails and things like that. But if you are on a roadway, it is, and you know what it's like in a motor vehicle, you have minimum of 2. Now we're getting into more rules like this, but we've got a minimum of two mirrors looking to the rearward. Mm-hmm. So either 2 wing mirrors or a wing mirror and a rear view mirror or whatever it is, because some trucks block that. Mm-hmm. So you have to have 2 at a minimum. And how often do we use them when we're driving in our cars and trucks and motor vehicles? All the time.
Yep.
So why wouldn't it be a great idea to put one on your bicycle?
Yeah. I noticed a sign in the back of a transport truck one time that really opened my eyes. It said, "If you can't see my mirrors, I can't see you."
That's very, very true. Yeah. And that's another thing we talk about when we're crossing roads and with pedestrians is try and make eye contact with those drivers, make sure that they're stopped. We work a lot with school patrollers, and that's what we're talking about with school patrollers too, is look at those drivers. They see me, I see them, we can cross.
Okay. Is there anywhere that young people can go to learn how to ride safely? Are there any programs that still exist? Do the police service have anything for people like that?
We've worked for a number of years with Safety City, and we're going to be looking at doing something again. We used to have bike rodeos, and we were talking...
Pedal pushers was one of my as a kid, yeah.
That's the Lethbridge programs. And we're going to be looking into that and seeing what's out there now. Those are, when Safety City comes out and they have obstacle courses and they make it fun and they hand out stickers. We do safety and we look at helmets and nobody's in trouble out there. When we do these social programs or we're out in the community, we're not looking at getting people in trouble. We're there to answer questions and make everybody safe.
That's the key. We want everybody to be safe.
Absolutely. Because the best day in a traffic police officer's that can have is that there's nobody out there being unsafe and no tickets. That's a great day.
And no paperwork.
No paperwork.
I know the paperwork always takes a lot of time. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on, Curtis, before we wrap up?
No, I don't think so. It's just the police are out there and they're happy to see people out using the trails and the roadways. And we want to just keep them safe. We don't want to see anybody out there get hurt. And if you have any questions, please give us a call, or if you see a police officer out in the community, feel free to ask them. If they don't know the answer, we will find it out for you.
Okay. Curtis Ladouceur, Medicine City Police Service, thanks for the visit.
Thanks so much.
Hey, this is Brian again, and I'd like to ask you to do a favor. We can't do this work without people like you, so if you can, please like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends about Bring Back the Porch.